Hey, Falcons and NFL fans, welcome to another episode of NFL's Jocks and Pigskins with Tom Pollen. Chris Smitherman is back behind the scenes producing. I'm Dave Holcomb. Week 3 in the NFL, Tom, and we have a great matchup for the Atlanta Falcons this week.
Oh, yeah.
For a lot of different reasons. First, road matchup after starting 2-0 at home. Want to see how this team does away from Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We also have a fantastic running back matchup. Two guys that look like they're going to be, all-time guys at the position. Both rookies, both top 15 picks going at it for the first time. Bijan Robinson and Jamar Gibbs. And Gibbs should see a much bigger role. Doesn't sound like David Montgomery is going to be playing for the Lions. And that's kind of the other big storyline I think we'll be talking about today is all the injuries the Lions are dealing with. They really got banged up last week against the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, they did. They took, it was rough, but yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson, I'm looking forward to that matchup. It should be a lot of fun. And there's a lot of positives for the Falcons going into this game. Be their first opportunity since 2017 to go 3-0 to start the season.
Yeah.
And guess what? A nice shiny new dime to anybody who can name the third team that the Falcons beat in that season to go 3-0.
I was just about to say, I think I can name it. It was the Detroit Lions.
It sure was.
At Ford Field. And there was a bit of controversy at the end of that one, if you remember, Tom.
I don't remember that.
Do I get an extra dime for this?
Yeah, you get an extra dime for that.
Double check me. But there was the Lions, I believe, got the ball down to the 1 yard line. And actually, I think the referees actually said the Lions had scored to take the lead. I think they took the lead. And in the final 10 seconds. But then they reviewed it. They said he was short. And we're marking the ball at the 1 yard line. Because there's a review inside the last minute, we have to run 10 seconds off the clock to assume that you're not going to get the snap off right when we've stopped the ball to review the play. And the Lions didn't have any timeouts left to stop the 10-second runoff. With under 10 seconds left, the game was over.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. I do remember that. It takes some time to get it going, but I just looked it up. Yeah, it's a wild time. It's a wild way to win a game, but hey, you take wins any way you can get them.
Yeah, it was a little bit like should the Falcons really be 3-0? I remember that being the conversation. But I think if they go into Ford Field this weekend and win, even if it's like that, Falcons fans are going to take it. And 3-0 is 3-0. So, I mean, I don't think many people thought this team would be 2-0. And now you got a chance to be 3-0 here. There's a lot of positives, as you said, for the Falcons right now. And we're going to get into them today, talk about the matchup against the Lions. We'll also have picks against the spread. Tom has those every single week for you. And we're going to feature, at least I am, Tom, some of those rookie running backs from that Lions-Falcons matchup in our prize picks selections.
Cool.
And today's show brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app. Use our promo code ASU when you do. That gets you a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. So some free money for you there. And we hope to help you out to win some money tomorrow when you use the app.
Oh, yeah. We got some good stuff for you for tomorrow. I've done some digging and, nothing really deep, nothing really complicated. But, yeah, we do have picks for you. So sign up, get your promo code in, support the show. Please support the show. But yeah, we got some good picks and there's plenty on Prize Picks. Got college football today. College football is in full swing, so you could play plenty of that today too.
Yeah,
so we got a lot of options.
And about a week left in the baseball season. You can pick some players in Prize Picks from the MLB as well.
Right, exactly. Playoff drive is in its final week, and we'll see if the Cubs collapse or not. And
my Pirates didn't help you out.
No, they didn't.
I would say I'm sorry about it, but I'm not.
No, you're not. You're not. Don't even bother. I know better.
Well, if there's any consolation, the Pirates beat the Reds last night, and I'm hoping for a Pirates sweep in Cincinnati. So I mean that not really to help the Cubs, but I'm just hoping the Pirates sweep.
Just hope for the Pirates. Yeah, no, I get that. Believe me. So you're fine there.
So it seems like the Falcons are getting a little bit healthier going into this game. Jeff Okudah is another storyline that we could really feature today. He could make his Falcons debut tomorrow, going up against his former team, which is always an interesting thing. Yeah. You definitely see this in baseball. I think I've seen this a ton this summer with players playing their former teams, and just that little extra motivation seems to make a difference in terms of how you perform. And I'm looking for Okudah to have a pretty big game tomorrow, I think, going up against the team that picked him in the top 3. And maybe, it was, I don't want to say they gave up on him too early, but they did ship him away for pretty much nothing.
Right.
Didn't really think much of him going into this season, and he gets new life with the Falcons, and he's got a chance to prove to Detroit that, he was a guy they should have kept. But as the Falcons get healthy in this game, Tom, the Lions are dealing with a ton of injuries after last week.
Yeah, it's going to be rough on them, but you got to deal with that in the NFL, and this is a great time to get them. But the Falcons have a lot of strengths going into this game. Their defense has been very good.
Yeah.
So did a great job holding down the Packers last week, and been one of the positives of the season so far is that the way the defense has performed. So the Lions were going to have problems anyway. But yeah, not having Montgomery's not going to be easy, but Jahmyr Gibbs is, I don't know why he hasn't been getting more carries anyway.
Yeah.
Because he seems to be productive every time he touches the ball. He's got to get involved in the running game for the Lions, even if they're forced to use him in the running game, they have to use him.
Yeah. Gibbs had a very good week 1, 42 rushing yards on just 7 carries. Not as productive last week, 17 rushing yards again on 7 carries, but had 7 catches against the Seahawks as well for his 14 touches, and not a whole lot of yardage there, 39 yards, but I think that's kind of how they want to use Gibbs as a pass catcher, like the Falcons have been using Robinson as a pass catcher. But without Montgomery now, Gibbs has got to carry the load as well in the backfield. And I think you will see him get a lot more carries tomorrow.
Yeah, another thing with the Lions is Josh Reynolds going to play? And even then, is he going to play at full strength? So that's a rough one. And considering
he's been really good for them the first 2 games.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah.
And considering how well the Falcons secondary is played, that's going to be a rough injury for the Lions to take too.
Yeah, there are officially 4 starters that have already been ruled out for the Lions, if you're counting Emmanuel Mosley, who actually hasn't appeared in a game yet, but the Lions signed him assuming that he would eventually start this season. If you're counting him, there's 4 starters that are out. And David Montgomery actually hasn't even been officially ruled out, which I guess there's hope that he can trust tomorrow. But I don't think he's going to. He's listed as doubtful on the injury report. So
normally when they're listed as doubtful, you're not going to see him.
Right. So, I mean, that's 5 starters, 2 guys on the offensive line, which I'm looking for the Falcons' defensive line to take advantage of that. You're losing. You don't have your starting left tackle and Taylor Decker if you're the Lions, and then you don't have your best guard in I'm just going to call him V because that's his nickname. Several first name.
I'm not going to, I like to be picky about names. I like to get names right.
Yeah.
I'm not making an attempt at that one either.
Okay. Right. So I think the Falcons defense, you're talking about them as a positive, their defensive line could certainly feast in this game.
Yes, they could. Yeah, it could be fun. Let's see. Okay, here's the Falcons. A little bit rough on the defensive line for the Falcons so far this year, as far as against the run. Maybe he hasn't been as aggressive against the pass as I would have liked to have seen. But they're blitzing. They're doing things to try and get to the quarterback. They're being creative. And that's one of the things I like about Ryan Nielsen's defense. But, man, it's the secondary, defensive passer rating is 74.6. And I know they faced Bryce Young the first week, but that's still very impressive for a defensive unit. Points per play, they're 7th. Defensive points per drive, they're 6th. They're hanging on really tight on defense. And one of the problems with the team the last couple of years. But this is where I think the Falcons are going to try and hang their hat this year.
Yeah, and I would say one of the big problems, of course, with the team the last few years is fourth quarters. Just haven't played well in the fourth quarter. And it was like night and day last week compared to the kind of team that they've been in the fourth quarter in years past. And we got a question here from Gary. Were any Lions weaknesses exposed after the kind of surprising week 1 win and then not beating the Seahawks at home in the season opener? I would say they didn't make, not necessarily any weaknesses. I don't think they made big plays in terms of they didn't get any turnovers. They didn't get any takeaways. They didn't get any sacks. The Lions aren't getting any pressure right now.
They're not.
Which you hope Ritter's going to have. That's going to continue, and Ritter will have time to get the ball downfield. But the Lions missed on a couple fourth down tries. They got those against the Chiefs, didn't get them against the Seahawks. And we talked about that, I think, a lot last year when the league's going towards being more aggressive on fourth downs. And it's great when you make them. Like Arthur Smith made that decision to go for fourth down when you're in field goal range and you're down by 2. He made that look great because he ran off more clock. He made it an easier try for Koo, who's kind of struggled a little bit early this season.
Yeah. So,
that was a great decision because he made it. But Dan Campbell maybe made some bad decisions because they didn't make their fourth downs. And the turnovers, too. They didn't get any on defense, but the Lions turned it over 3 times, one of them being a pick 6. Jared Goff ended his long interceptionless streak.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was too bad. Tough to say. But no, I tell you, a lot of with that Chiefs game, it was the Kansas City receiving corps was just terrible.
That's true.
And that had a lot to do with the way that game ended up. But, I thought the Lions were a lot tougher in there. I actually looked at them to be strong in their home opener last week. And a lot weaker than I expected from them. I didn't expect to see them fall. They want to be a power in the NFL. They want to be the team.
Yeah.
And they want to be the team. They want to be the guys who take over the NFC North.
Yeah.
And I figure their first home game, they would be ready to play. But Seahawks really took it to them. Geno Smith had a hell of a game.
Yeah, he did. I think the Seahawks came in with a really great game plan. They were missing both of their tackles, and you think, wow, how could the Lions not get a sack when both offensive tackles are out? Well, Geno Smith was getting rid of the ball very quickly.
Yep.
Very quickly. They didn't have time to get to Geno Smith and pressure him, and the coverage wasn't really good enough in the back end to make Geno Smith hold on to the ball. And those giveaways were really key too. Again, I already said that, but that was really important. And I think the Falcons didn't get that against Packers, but week 1 they did. They can get a couple of takeaways in this game. They can they can do a lot of the same stuff that the Seahawks did to the Lions.
Yeah, they could. What was I going to say now? Lost my train of thought. Yeah, I completely lost my train of thought.
About the Seahawks tackles, the Lions being a power in the NFL. They want to be a power in the NFL. Falcons defense. No, okay.
Well, what I liked about the Falcons defense last week is they held the Packers scoreless. They gave Ritter a chance to bring that team back. That was a 13-point fourth quarter comeback last week.
Yeah.
It was damn impressive.
It was their first one in like 5 years, a fourth quarter comeback that was double digits. And that one was 13 points. 12 points. And, they got the 13 point to win. And held the Packers to, I believe it was it 7? I'm double checking here. I think it was 7 yards in the fourth quarter. Actually, it might have been less than that. I think it was 2 yards. ESPN has it. No, sorry, 7. It was 7. 7 yards on defense in the fourth quarter on 3 possessions. So that's what I'm talking about, making the big plays, playing well in the clutch.
Right.
Falcons did that last week for sure. The Lions didn't. The Lions didn't play well in the clutch. At least in week 2. They played well in week 1 when it went in the fourth quarter on the road, but last week didn't make the plays necessary to beat the Seahawks, and they lost the coin toss, which is still kind of a controversial thing in terms of should both teams get the ball in overtime. But if you're not going to make the plays on defense in the regular season, you're not going to get the ball.
That's what I keep saying.
Yeah.
You got to make if you can't make plays on defense, you don't deserve to win.
Yeah.
All right. Quit crying about the freaking coin toss. God, I am sick of hearing about coin tosses.
Yeah. Yeah. Brian's in the house. He says Detroit all banged up. Yeah. Yeah, they are, Brian. We've been talking about it a little bit, and I wanted to say it this way, but Tom kind of took the words out of my mouth. We're on the same wavelength. It's a great time for the Falcons to be playing Detroit. Great time. And this is what's so interesting, why we super analyze the schedule when it comes out, but yet we can't analyze what's actually really important when it comes out, because the Falcons playing the Lions this week is a key thing on the schedule, as opposed to playing them, maybe a month from now, 2 months from now, whatever. But we don't know that when the schedule comes out that Detroit's going to be banged up in week 3, but that is a very underrated, scheduling quirk, I guess, is that the Falcons are getting the Lions at significantly less than full strength.
Yeah, and it's the NFL season. It's the way things go.
It is. Yeah.
So, you just can't predict the injuries. You can't predict how your team health is going to be. A lot of, until you get into the season, you start seeing things happen. So, this is the time. This is where you want to see it. And take advantage of Detroit when they're down. But that's part of the NFL. Kick them when they're down. You're getting a team that's having a rough time. Get them now. Don't let them off the mat.
Yeah. And Brian brings up a good point. That doesn't mean that Falcons are going to go in there and win 50-0.
Right.
Lions still have a lot of great players. They still got Jared Goff, the quarterback. The quarterback can make up for a lot of injuries, holes on your roster, whatever. You could have a completely healthy team, not have your quarterback, and you're not going to be a very good team. So this, I think Brian's right. This is still going to be a tough and tight game.
Oh, absolutely. They're going to want to make a recovery from that Seahawks game. They're not going to be coming into taking the Falcons lately. And look at it this way. How many times have the Falcons scared you when you were looking at them coming up on your schedule, over the last couple of years?
Not often. Not really. No.
So, they're not going to be taking the Falcons lightly. They are going to be preparing hard for this game.
Which is another fun thing about our super analysis of the schedule in May. We kind of identify which teams are going to be good, which teams are not, and then all of a sudden it changes in a week or 2
Yeah,
weeks.
right.
Detroit was probably looking at this matchup saying, okay, this should be an easy win. Nothing's easy in the NFL, but this should be an easier game at least.
Yeah.
Falcons at home. All of a sudden, not really. Not really.
Yeah.
This is actually going to be a really tough matchup for Detroit.
Yeah, and Atlanta needs this game. They got to stay even with the Saints. Saints have gotten off to a great start. Bucks have gotten off to a great start. So, I mean, the Falcons are really targeting this game and saying, we've got to have it. If they're going to take this season seriously, take themselves as playoff contenders seriously, they're going into this game with the same view. We have got to have this game. So, and that's even worse for the Lions. It's a tough matchup. It turns into a premium game. It really does.
Yeah, absolutely. False Start Falcon says he doesn't want to hear about the injuries. Falcons been playing with their hands behind their back for several years. Yeah, we're not trying to make excuses for the Lions or anything.
Yeah.
We're just presenting it as matter of fact, like they are going to be down these players, and it's going to be harder to protect Jared Goff with 2 offensive linemen out.
Right.
It's going to be harder to establish a running game when Craig Reynolds is now your changeup for Jahmyr Gibbs instead of David Montgomery, or David Montgomery is the starter and Gibbs is the changeup. But you know what I mean. It's just going to be harder for the Lions. But yeah, at the end of the day, no one cares. Everyone wants to see you go out and perform, no matter who is out there dressed for the game. So
right.
Brian has another comment. Arthur plays everything so close to the vest that the majority of our games will be close. Yeah, I think that's true, Brian. And I think we talked about Arthur Smith this summer. Is this year 1? Is this year 3 of his evaluation? Blah, blah, blah. We made that a big thing. And I'm looking at it as year 1, but I think whether or not you look at it as year 1 or year 3, you have to be impressed with Arthur Smith after the first 2 games. Like he is moving up. You want to do a coaches rank? You want to do a weekly coaches power rankings instead of just the teams? Arthur Smith is moving up steadily after these last 2 games. He's coached some really good games, really good game plans with Desmond Ridder, and the play calling again in that I'll reference the fourth quarter. The play calling on those key 3rd downs and 4th downs worked wonderfully and led to that win against Falcons.
Yeah. Well, he's keeping Desmond Ridder from having to do too much. I mean, one of the things I would like to see Ridder do is throw the ball downfield a little bit more. I don't think he's getting a chance to do as much of that, but sometimes you don't have to. Why force something when you don't have to? He's got Bijan Robinson playing well. Pitts has been a great medium range target for him. I say Ridder, I took a look at some statistics. He's 30th in intended air yards, which is air yards on all pass attempts.
Yeah.
But that's not a bad thing. Prescott's 29th. So it's not like it's saying it's a bad thing. He gets yards after the catch. He gets guys who can get yards after the catch. And that's an important thing too. So Bijan Robinson almost always makes the first guy miss. There's a play that he being a linebacker missed in the backfield, made another one miss at the line of scrimmage and broke it free for like 19 yards. It's incredible how he makes guys miss. So Ridder doesn't have to air the ball out all the time. I would like to see him do a little bit more of it, stretch the defense a little bit more. And I think we will as he gets more confidence and as Smith gets more confidence in him. But Smith is doing exactly what he needs to do right now to keep Ridder in control of the huddle, in control of the game.
I love this from Bonds. No excuses for the Lions. We've been missing our starting joker.
Yes.
No excuses.
I know. I saw that. I love that one when I saw it.
Starting joker makes all the difference. But yeah, I mean, actually, he can. Cordell Patterson is very versatile, and it'll be nice to see him back in the lineup, assuming he plays. And we talked about at the top of the show, if you're just joining us, Jeff Okudah hoping to see him make his Falcons debut and have a big game against his former team, the Detroit Lions, who thought so highly of him, trading him away for a pick to be named later, basically, is what it was. It became a 5th-round pick.
Yeah, everybody likes to play well against their former team.
Yeah.
That's always, you always circle those games on your calendar. Mm-hmm. I'm sure Akuta's had his eyes on this one for a while, and probably part of his frustration that he wasn't sure if he was going to be able to play or not.
Yeah, true.
You got it now. You're going to be playing. You've got these guys. You could show them what they were missing. And the hell of it is, though, is between, Trey Flowers, AJ Terrell, Alford, that's been a tough secondary as it is. So, he's not going to be like, it's not going to be like where we thought he was going to be collecting a large share of the snaps on defense at corner. The Falcons have a very, very tough cornerback group and have done a great job of, in the first 2 games of doing their job and keeping things in front of them.
As I said at the top of the show, the Falcons are getting healthy. The Lions are banged up. Falcons are getting back one of their top cornerbacks. Yeah. Well, a player we haven't even talked about because he's not on the injury report because he's out for the season is C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He's out. I believe he has a pectoral injury, so he's out for this game. And James Houston also not on the injury report because he's on IR. And he's out with an ankle injury, and he's their second best pass rusher who hasn't done much to start this season. Nope. But, I don't think you have much confidence if you're a Detroit fan that his backups are going to come in and do much. So, again, I don't want to I guess we should move on, not stress this injuries too much. But Detroit just very banged up. And I wanted to mention all the players that are out.
Yeah, and that's – again, an advantage, especially, Grady Jarrett has really been playing revitalized football this year. Jarrett looks like he's just letting everything rip on every down. I love watching the way he's been going because he's got Onimata beside him, and Onimata's been playing very well. So, it adds a lot when the inside of your defense is controlling the line of scrimmage. That gives your ends a chance to do something in the backfield, gives them a chance to shut down the corner. They don't have to worry about guys coming out and double teaming or getting caught, at the line of scrimmage. They're actually getting penetration. They're doing a lot of good work. So seems like a lot of what Terry Fontenot, a lot of what he had in his mind when he made his free agent signings this year is pretty much coming out the way he planned it, the way he wanted it. And it's been exciting to see.
Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app. Use our promo code ASU when you do. That gets you a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. So some free money for you. Supports the show. And we have some picks for you that will help you get started tomorrow. We normally wait to the end of the show to make picks, but I'm going to make my picks now. If you want to save yours, that's cool, Tom. But I've got picks from this Lions-Falcons matchup. I mentioned the running backs right at the top of the show. That's a huge storyline in this game. The 2 rookie guys, Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs, 2 very talented guys that I think are going to be showcased in this game, especially without Montgomery. It's Gibbs' turn to shine.
Yes.
And I've got both of them on overs. I've got Bijan Robinson, 68.5 rushing yards. He was over that last week by a significant margin, way over that. So I like him to go over that again against Detroit, who, again, is banged up on defense, hasn't shown a whole lot even when they were healthy. At least in the pass rush. But I think the Falcons are going to get the running game going again with Robinson. He's going to hit 70 rushing yards at least. and I like Gibbs over 3.5 receptions. If you want to go with Gibbs on the over with his rushing total, let me double check. His rushing total is 46.5, which I think is a decent total to bet on, but that he hasn't gone over that in either of the first 2 games. So if you're going with that one, you're counting on him getting a lot more carries, which probably will happen. But I'm going with kind of the safer route, Tom. I like looking at safe picks, and I think it's safer to say he's going to get 3.5 or he's going to get 4 or more catches. You got that last week with Montgomery playing, and now Montgomery's not playing.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. And another thing you got to look at, Jahmyr Gibbs isn't really – Montgomery's been the guy who's been doing the work between the tackles. And that's going to be a rough thing to miss. And I think, trying to get Jahmyr Gibbs free, I think they will use him more in the passing game. Try and get him past the line into the second level. And so, I do like that as far as Jahmyr Gibbs getting, 4 receptions at least in this game. Bijan Robinson was one of my picks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think Bijan Robinson's really got a chance to make some noise in this game.
Do you want to go with your other picks now, or you just saving them?
Give them right now.
Okay.
Adam Thielen on Carolina. Bryce Young is not playing this week. Got an injured ankle. The Red Rifle is going to be Red Rifle is going to be playing for the Carolina Panthers. And they got Adam Thielen at 37.5 yards. If Bryce Young was quarterbacking, I wouldn't touch it. But I think with the Red Rifle quarterbacking, he knows how to find his receivers. Dalton is a good quarterback. He's not outstanding. He's not gonna take you to the playoffs as your franchise quarterback. But he can win you games. He's kind of like Heineke in that way. He can win you games during the season if you need him. And having him in is going to make a difference in that Panthers passing attack. So I do like Adam Thielen for 37.5 passing yards. A little bit of a surprise. I like Justin Jefferson with the Vikings. 101.5 yards. He's being projected to get at least 10 touches, 10 catches, 10 targets in this game this weekend. And he averages over 10 yards a catch. And he's Kirk Cousins' big target. He's the guy who makes things go for Minnesota. They're going to need they're going to need him to keep from going 0-3. They're going to need big plays out of him. So I think Jefferson goes over the 100-yard mark.
All right. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. We got a couple of comments to get to here. Marcel says, y'all Panthers will be better with Dalton. Sounds like Tom, at least in the short term, agrees that Dalton is going to be at least better for Adam Thielen's statistics this week.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Young is the quarterback. He's going to be their guy. And, he has struggled a lot early this season. He has not looked good. But so definitely Dalton's the Panthers are a better team right now with Dalton at quarterback. But they need Young to develop. And I think they were kind of using this season as pretty much, this is a year where we're going through our development and, next year Bryce Young is going to be ready to really start to rip. And so, in the short term, definitely Dalton is the better man for them.
Brian bringing up something that Dan Campbell said in his press conference this week, or one of his press conferences. Dan Campbell is such a quotable coach. He's just a fun guy to listen to. And he described the Falcons as a physical and violent team that will take your soul. So, it's definitely respect there, Brian.
Oh, man.
Dan Campbell. So,
I love that. I'm telling you. Dan Campbell is fun. I thought he was kind of a fool when Detroit actually hired him. But he's a fun guy. and there is some he's a smart guy. He's sneaky smart on you.
He gives off like meathead vibes,
Yes, that's it. That's it
but
exactly.
but he's a lot smarter than your average
Uh-huh.
meathead. So
Right.
he's not just a dumb former tight end
No.
from the NFL.
Right.
He's a really good motivator and a smart coach. So
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be a really fascinating matchup, Falcons Lions tomorrow. So we'll definitely be watching.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, yeah. Before we get to our picks against the spread, Tom, I want to ask you some, somewhat overreaction, or are you buying into kind of questions again, like we did last week, but focusing on 2-0 teams and then 0-2 teams. Of the 2-0 teams, who's the biggest mirage? Who is the least likely to be there, even maybe by the end of October? We're going to be saying, oh, that team started 2-0. I forgot about that because they are not a good football team.
Mm. Wow. Very good question.
I have my answer if you want to think about it for a few seconds.
I think the Saints actually are a bit of a mirage.
Okay.
It's a team that's they play great defense, but they're still a little banged up, and they've never really had a running game going. With Kamara, I think, comes back this week, so we'll see how that progresses. But Derek Carr has not done much to impress me yet, and I'm ready to see the Saints kind of drop a little bit. Maybe not this week. Who do I got? Saints are playing the Packers this week in Green Bay. Maybe not this week. Actually, yeah, this week. I think the Packers are going to beat them. So
Brian says Kamara next week. He has a 3-game suspension.
Was it right? 3-game suspension? I thought it was a 2. Okay, it might be, Brian. Yeah, it might be. So I will bow to you on that one. Kamara next week.
Yeah, Brian's right. It's a 3-game suspension.
Okay.
My answer is this is great news for the Falcons. We're going with a pair of NFC South teams. My answer is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Okay.
We've said we don't believe in Baker Mayfield yet, and 2 wins against Minnesota and Chicago does not change my mind about that. And I think so much of your start, if you're 2-0 or 0-2, is who you play in the first 2 weeks. And sorry, Tom, Tampa Bay hasn't played anybody yet, so can't say that I'm too confident that they're going to keep this up.
No, they haven't played anybody yet. Although Minnesota was a tough game. Minnesota just can't stop with the turnovers.
Yeah.
If they can hold on to the ball, Minnesota would be 2-0 right now.
I mean, that's true. That's true. That leads into my next question. So what 0-2 team that we thought was going to be good is in the most trouble? You can't answer the Arizona Cardinals. You can't say the Houston Texans. We kind of all thought they were going to be 0-2, not really expecting them to do much. Minnesota Vikings could be an answer, though. Who is the 0-2 team that made the playoffs last year or was competing for playoffs? Thought we had a lot of preseason hype and is in trouble.
Cincinnati, if they don't get this thing figured out with Joe Burrow, because they've got that same 3 receivers that they've been riding for the last 2 seasons. It's not working for them. Joe Mixon's not running well, and I don't know what's going on with Joe Burrow. I am worried about him. Is this calf strain worse than everybody's been letting on? Is there more to that leg? But if he can't get it together, I think Cincinnati's going to be falling out of the playoff picture very fast. Brian, he's came up with a real good one because I was going to mention the Vikings because I think the Vikings are going to be in big trouble. They're fortunate that the Packers and Lions have not gotten off to great starts. Both have 1 loss.
Yeah.
And as I say, the Minnesota Vikings are turnovers away from. Oh, Brian says, I've had a pulled calf. This is going to affect him all year. Okay. But, again, San Diego has looked bad. Offensively, they've looked great. They can't stop anybody.
Los Angeles.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, Los Angeles. Los Angeles.
Yeah.
The Chargers, wherever they're playing now.
Right. Go with the nicknames. Can't get the nicknames wrong. Well,
yeah.
unless you call the Commanders the football team, that would be wrong. But
I would love to still be calling the Commanders because I hate the Commanders. I was watching last week. I was watching Red Zone through the later games, and my wife, she hears the word Commanders. She's like, "What the hell kind of name is that? How did they come up with that as a team name?" And she's like, "It bugs me every time they say Commanders."
Wow, so not fans of the nickname now.
Not fans of the nickname, no.
Yeah. The Vikings are my pick, Tom. Of the team, the 0-2 teams that are in the most trouble. Brian brings up a great point. You have the Chargers, Vikings, two playoff teams from last year, both 0-2 and are playing each other. So unless they tie, and I think if they tie, you could argue they're both in trouble. But somebody's going to be 0-3, and that's a huge hole to climb out of. Fortunately for both of them, they're not in a division, as you mentioned, where there's a team that's 2-0.
Right.
That could help. That could help the Vikings, I think, in particular. We still think the Chiefs are going to be the Chiefs. But in the NFC North, things are a little more wide open. Maybe the Vikings could stumble at the beginning of the season and catch up. But I don't know. I think the Vikings losing Dalvin Cook just sent a clear message to me that they don't think they're going to do much this year themselves.
Yeah.
And they have confirmed that with their inability to take care of the ball and close out games in the first two weeks for me. So I think they're in trouble. I think they're in the most trouble. But I think your point about Joe Burrow is very warranted because I think that it's a big asterisk of the Bengals to start 0-2 last year. So I don't think we should get too worried about this start. But the big if is only if Joe Burrow is going to be healthy.
Right.
Even if Joe Burrow deals with his calf injury for 2-3 more weeks and then is healthy, where are you in the AFC North in 2 to 3 weeks?
Well, the problem is you got the Baltimore Ravens who are playing well at the start of the season.
Yes.
You can't fall too far behind Baltimore. Now, Cleveland and Pittsburgh have struggled, but you do, unlike the Chargers and the Vikings, and I agree with you, the Chiefs are going to be the Chiefs, eventually.
Yes.
But unlike the Vikings, the Bengals have the Ravens they have to worry about, and the Ravens are playing very good football.
Yeah, and I think you're right. The Browns and Steelers have struggled at the beginning of the season, but in some areas they've done very well too. So they're going to be in contention, and the Bengals have to. If the Bengals fall into a 1-3 hole, they're gonna have to climb all of those teams to get back in. I think if Burrow is not healthy, they're in the most trouble. But I picked the Vikings, but we just don't know really the health of Burrow right now. Todd says he's going with the Bengals. Joe is hurt worse than he's saying. Tony says Cincinnati will roll the Inglewood Rams this coming Monday night as they are angry.
They are Inglewood, yes.
0-2. Yeah, I think it's a big game for Cincinnati. You really can't afford to fall 0-3.
No, you can't.
You're the historian of the show, Tom. I can't recall a team starting 0-3 and winning the Super Bowl. I don't think it's ever happened.
I don't think it's ever happened. 0-3. Now they've expanded the playoff format, but 0-3 is still difficult to make the playoffs. It's still unlikely. It's very bad odds, and I don't have it in front of me. Yeah. I could look it up and find it, but I don't have it in front of me.
I believe the 93 Cowboys were the first team that started 0-2 and won the Super Bowl. They were 0-2 because Emmitt Smith was holding out. And then the 2007 Giants were also 0-2. I'd have to double check to see if any other teams have won the Super Bowl after starting 0-2.
Yeah, I would have to look. And as I say, if you go to Pro Football Reference, and I strongly recommend this to everybody listening, sign up for StatHead for their football StatHead page. $8 a month, and you can find anything.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So if I had StatHead open, I could probably find it right now. But, I don't have that in front of me. So, but yeah, 0-3, it's just terrible, especially when you got you still got the Eagles who are undefeated. Washington's playing well. The 49ers are jumping out ahead of everybody. You don't want to fall down in this in the NFC because you may not be able to make that climb back. And on your point about Dalvin Cook, you send kind of very subtle messages to your team when you do the things like they did with Dalvin Cook. And then saying that Madison is going to be the same type of running back as Cook when he never has in his career. And, we're going to be fine with Alexander Madison at our running back. No, you have never been fine with him as your running back, even when Cook's been hurt. So don't try to roll that stuff past us. And you're not going to roll that past your team because your team knows better.
Yeah.
So that might also be part of the problem with Minnesota is they've kind of taken a look at some of the things that have happened with this team in the offseason, and they're questioning their front office and questioning the overall team commitment.
Well, and they had traded for Cam Akers this week too. I mean, doesn't that send a signal of what you think about Madison after 2 games?
Huge. That means that it means a lot. Yeah, it's huge. That's a huge statement. That's saying that this guy is not getting the job done, and we will try anything to try and get the ball moving on the ground, even if we have to bring in a guy. And they brought in Cam Akers, who was available. Akers has had his moments, not consistent, but we will see how he'll do with the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, Brian says Madison is a backup. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, Cam Akers has been too. So
yes.
They have 2 backup running backs at this point. William weighing in back on the Falcons-Lions matchup. Well, first he says we have to score points early. Then he says, and we have to eliminate those explosive plays across the middle of the field. Absolutely. If you missed our preview of the game, William, check us on replay. The beginning of the show will be on YouTube. How quickly does it get up on YouTube? Is it up immediately?
It's up immediately.
Yeah. So when we wrap up the show at 1 o'clock,
I was going to say, sorry. It's up right as soon as it's over. Y'all can go and watch it. So just as soon as we're wrapped up, hit play, you watch, see whatever you didn't miss.
If you don't get enough of us live, hey, go right back to it.
Hey, and watch as much as you want. Hey, take clips, share it with the family, do it all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's why we keep Chris around. He knows the answers.
Absolutely.
To these questions. Brian also saying he thinks Akers is an upgrade over Madison. I think so too. I was just making a joke about it.
Not a big upgrade, but he is an upgrade.
Yeah. Right. So have you included any of these teams that we've been talking about, 2-0 or 0-2 in your picks this week, Tom? Let's get to your picks against the spread.
Yes, I have.
Oh, okay.
Funny that you should ask. We're going to start with the Tennessee Titans playing at the Cleveland Browns.
Ooh.
Browns are favored by 3.5.
Right.
The Titans are not a sexy team. All right. That's the thing. They don't do anything outstanding. They are just a good football team. Mike Vrabel is one hell of a football coach. I love that guy. And the Browns, Deshaun Watson is struggling like hell. The Browns have really taken on the chin now with Nick Chubb.
Well, yeah.
And that was a terrible play. I mean, you just saw that the minute Minka Fitzpatrick and Minka Fitzpatrick didn't mean that. He got him lower than he expected, but that was just horrible. And I hate seeing such a talented player, a guy who is worthy of focus in the NFL, and just, he's not going to be available. And I know a lot of fantasy owners are probably tearing their hair out right now.
I'm one of them. I've had Nick Chubb since he was a rookie on my dynasty team. Love Nick Chubb. Loved him at Georgia. Moved down here when he led the team to the national championship in 2017. Should have won that game against Alabama. I know it's not as big of a would have, could have, should have game for Georgia after being back-to-back champs. They don't really care. They lost that game. But that was a championship they let slip away, and Chubb could have been a champion in college. And I've followed his career since he got drafted in Cleveland and had him on my team. So I hate seeing him injured. Really, really. Like, even though the Steelers won, I still felt like a little down after the win.
Yep.
Partially because the Steelers offense played so terribly, but also because I was so disappointed that Nick Chubb wasn't going to play again this year.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. It's terrible because I've enjoyed watching him. He is just a powerhouse back with speed. He's like a younger version of Derrick Henry, a guy who he can outrun you if you get him into the second level, and you got to watch out for him. So it's just incredibly talented and tough to see him go down. But I do think, and Brian also brought it up a little bit, a couple of comments earlier, you don't want to face Vrabel's team if you're struggling. Exactly, because Vrabel, the Titans, as I say, they're not a sexy team. They don't have something where you're going to say, other than Derrick Henry, but where you're going to say, you really got to watch this with the Titans.
Yeah.
They just play overall well as a team. And I think that's a rough thing that the Cleveland Browns are going to be facing this week. So take the Titans plus the 3.5. I like that one. Let's see. Where's my next one here? Baltimore Ravens over the Indianapolis Colts. Everybody's fallen all over themselves to anoint Gardner Minshew as the greatest backup quarterback of all time. And that Minshew is going to come on and he's going to lead the Colts, and you're not even going to worry about Anthony Richardson not being there. And no. All right, there's a reason Gardner Minshew is on, his third team in 3 years?
Yeah, 4 years, but yeah.
4 years? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the Ravens are playing well, very strong on defense. Defensive points per play, they're fourth in the league. Net passing yards per attempt. Lamar Jackson is eighth in the league in net passing yards per attempt. So getting great play out of Jackson, getting great play out of their defense. I think the Colts have a tough time in Baltimore, in their former home.
Yeah.
Just remember, they're going back home.
Yeah.
After Irsay, Jim Irsay's father, Rob Irsay, left under the cover of night, brought in all the moving vans. They left before dawn. They were gone out of Baltimore. That was dirty. Carolina Panthers at home, Sunday, late afternoon. Take the Seahawks over the Carolina Panthers. Seahawks favored by 5.5. The Panthers, even with the red rifle, and I just love saying that, even with the red rifle playing, I think the Seahawks are playing strong. Geno Smith, I thought, was getting caught up with by defensive coordinators a little bit last year. Seems to have upped his game this season, and I like that. So take Geno Smith and that great crew of receivers that he has. The Panthers, I still think, have a lot of struggles. And I think the Panthers are a couple of years away from really being competitive again. And if you want an upset special, Monday night, the Eagles are favored by 4.5 over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Ooh.
I am picking the Buccaneers to cover and win over the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night. As my upset special for this week.
Wow. Okay. You're going out on a limb on that one.
Yeah. No, not really. I don't think so. The
Eagles
have not been playing well.
They have not. I think I agree with that. I agree with that.
Now, they did take advantage of those Vikings turnovers, and Hurts did a great job of, leading the team to a couple of quick touchdowns in the third quarter, made the Vikings chase the rest of the game, could put that game out of reach. But, and I know you said the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who they've played, but my God, Baker Mayfield's only been sacked once, no interceptions. And I don't want to be saying this.
As soon as you say it, he's going to.
I don't want to be saying this.
Don't say it. He hasn't played a defensive line like the Eagles yet.
Yeah, but that Eagles defensive line, they're 28th in creating negative pass plays.
But they still have a lot. They still have a lot of what they had last year. I know they lost Hargrave. Yeah,
but they're not.
You don't think they're going to get back to?
They're not getting to the quarterback.
You don't think they're going to going forward? You don't think they're just off to a slow start?
I think they're off to a slow start. However, again, I think Tampa Bay is very good. On the line, they've kept Mayfield clean. Mayfield likes having Godwin and Evans as his wide receivers.
So it's probably the best receiver duo he's had.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people love Odell Beckham Jr., so maybe someone would say Beckham and Jarvis Landry are better, but I would put Mike Evans and
Evans and Godwin are the best receiver tandem he's had.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
So I just like it. They're 43.8% on third downs. They have the 8th best offensive line by my statistical rankings in the league. They're 6th on defense and rushing yards against. This is a team that is tough and a little tougher than I thought they would be coming into the season. Because, as I said, I had no faith in Baker Mayfield.
Right.
I'm not going back. No, yeah.
We'll see.
As soon as I'm out, they're pulling me back in.
Right, exactly. Baker Mayfield has pulled you back in, Tom, and we'll see. Monday Night Football, big
Monday Night Football. Yeah.
Big game for you and Baker Mayfield.
Right, exactly. Don't say it like that.
Well, against the spread for me, I've been trying to have some fun with these picks. Last week I went with a bunch of upsets, and your Bears ruined my perfect. My
Bears ruined a lot of things last week.
That's true. It's true. What a week for the Bears! Like every single day, it's like, what? What are the Bears doing?
I know. Oh, Mad Mike has tweeted me a couple of times. Like. What's going on with your Bears, Tom?
I know. Yeah, it was a very weird week for them. So I'm picking the Chiefs in my Eliminator Survivor because they're playing the Bears in Kansas City. So I think that's the safe.
They're not going to win that game.
I love safe bets, safe picks, especially in the Eliminator when you have to get it right or you're out. So I'm going with the Chiefs there. But against the spread, I like the Titans, as you said, over the Browns. You mentioned Deshaun Watson, and that's a great point. But I don't have faith that Kevin Stefanski is going to get the running game going without Nick Chubb. And again, hearts out to him. Hope he gets a speedy recovery.
He played very well last week in place of Nick Chubb.
No, he did. The Steelers' run defense is subpar right now without Cameron Hayward. So
right.
I don't know if they're going to do that against the Titans, against a Mike Vrabel team. So I like the Titans also as an upset win. The Falcons, according to ESPN, are plus 3.5 underdogs. Is that what Vegas? Has the line moved at all?
Right now, the line is sitting at +3.
I think the Falcons could win, and if they don't win, I think they'll win, or I think they'll lose by less than a field goal. So or a field goal if the line is plus 3.5, like it is for me at ESPN. I like the Falcons in that game against the spread. And I'm begrudgingly going back to the Steelers. Last time I picked them, it was a disaster against the 49ers. And it's their first road game. But they're not going to Oakland, where they have not won since 1995. They're going to be playing in Vegas. I think the first time they play in Vegas ever.
Yeah.
And the Raiders defense is not the 49ers defense, not the Browns defense. So if Pickett is going to get something going, it's got to be this week.
It better be this week.
I know. Yeah. Like, we're going to find out a lot about the Steelers offense this week. If they struggle again, they're in trouble. They're in trouble. Like, they might still go 9-8. Like, Mike Tomlin's probably not going to have a losing season. Maybe they'll even get into the playoffs at 9-8, or somehow they sneak to 10-7. But if Pickett doesn't show some signs of life, if they don't score 3 touchdowns against the Raiders, I think the offense is in trouble.
Yeah.
But I think they will beat the Raiders by I think they're going to win. The Raiders are favored by 1.5 according to ESPN.
2.5 right now.
2.5, so it's even better spread. I think that's a good pick. I think the Steelers will win.
Okay, they could. They got a very good chance of that. I like the Steelers. I think the Raiders are. I think the Raiders are bad. I think anybody who's looking at the Raiders as being a team that's going to make a run this year, no, I don't think so.
I think the Raiders are bad too, especially on defense. I don't think the Steelers are going to light them up like Josh Allen and the Bills did, of course. But again, I think this game's going to be close. But even if the Steelers offense struggles a little bit, J.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, they're going to make plays that like they did last week.
J.J. Watt's been making plays for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
and Highsmith had a great game.
Mm-hmm.
And they need more of that without Cameron Hayward playing. And Fitzpatrick had a pretty good game too. Did leave with the injury after the Nick Chubb hit. I think the defense knows that they got to carry it while Pickett figures it out.
Right.
So,
well, the thing is, Pickett needs to figure it out, because until Pickett figures it out, Najee Harris is going to have a rough time too.
Yeah, I know.
He's not going anywhere on the ground because, teams don't have to take Pickett seriously yet. Now, Pickett and Pickens did connect for a big touchdown play last week, but
we're out of time, and we could spend another hour talking about the Steelers offense. But I guess what I'll leave it as: Pickett needs to be better, but the Steelers need to be better around him. They're making it so hard on their young quarterback. Like, Harris isn't finding the holes. The offensive line isn't creating any holes. The offensive line isn't protecting Pickett well enough. And the offensive coordinator is not calling a good game. Matt Canada is not putting Pickett in a position where he can have success. And then when somehow Canada has a good play call, the offensive line's blocking is at least average, and a wide receiver is open, Pickett misses the wide receiver. Like, that's what's happening right now for the Steelers offense. It's not clicking at all. And it's shocking after the preseason. Like, I can't believe that it's gone so south after a really good August.
Yeah, it's been tough to watch. It's been tough to see, and you just hope that the kid gets it figured out.
You hope so. So those are our picks against the spread. Got some picks for you for Prize Picks. Today's show, again, was brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app. Use our promo code ASU when you do. Get you 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. Great way to support the show. Another great way to support the show, follow us on YouTube, on Facebook, give us a like, subscribe to our channel, Atlanta Sports Unlimited. Lots of great Georgia sports content on there. Georgia Bulldogs on a historic winning streak. Get all your Georgia football news here. Atlanta Braves trying to lock down home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Get your Braves coverage at Atlanta Sports Unlimited as well.
Yeah, Cubs got another series against the Braves. I'm not looking forward to that.
I'm going to go to at least one of the games next week, Tom. So,
okay.
Yeah. Hopefully the stadium isn't overtaken by Cubs fans. And if it is, I would like some Cubs fans to pay an outrageous sum for my tickets. That would be
Yeah, it'd be that way. Oh, man. I got to buy you like a Cubs jersey or something.
Oh, no. No. It's got to be at least a player I like, although I don't know.
I was about to say, where does that
I liked Sammy Sosa in 1998, but not anymore. So yeah. I don't know. I'd have to think about who my favorite Cub is. That might take a while. Another way to support the show, follow us on Twitter at TJ Pollen, at DM Holcomb. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Yep. Everybody have a great week.